Got a few emails here. We got Mark Haney in the studio with us from HaneyBiz.com. Anthony wrote in. We were talking about, for some people, the lack of going into work is disconcerting. They're not around their coworkers. For others, maybe it brings them out of their shell. Anthony says, my wife is working from home. She thinks it's cool to some degree working from home. Like she can work out on her lunch. She can do the dishes. She can start dinner. But she definitely says she misses working around people.
Yeah.
We got this question from Trevor.
Hey, Trevor.
Says, I think I don't understand the stock market. I would love to hear Rob or Mark's perspective on the recent week or two of the stock market. It's up nearly every single day as worse and worse news comes out. None of the data coming out is promising. The entire market seems to be going up only based on the talk of reopening and federal stimulus dollars. I'm 20 years old, obviously not much experience, but it doesn't make any sense to me. What are your guys' thoughts? This is a question that the stock market kind of hit a bottom, at least not a bottom in terms of like, go out and buy blah, 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 technical word, about 18,000 if you go off the Dow. That was weeks ago. Now it's back up 24. We've made up half of everything we lost. And people what is going on, Mark? How can it's up 365 points today?
Yeah. It appears to be crazy. There's some, I think in this particular stock market time, we're seeing certain businesses really they're going well, right? So if you're in Zoom or if you're in Amazon, some of these businesses are doing really well, and I think the other businesses that have a let's say it's a casino, they've been hit hard. They aren't coming back like the Dow, right? They're just not coming back yet. But as we start hearing signs of reopening, it's Disneyland opening, they've got a little bit of hope, and their balance sheet is so strong they can withstand a 1 to 2 year challenge because they can go get money from the bond market.
We had to do a little lesson a couple weeks ago where we had to point out, look, what you see reported on the news is always the Dow. That's 30 companies. Yeah, 30 biggest companies, but it's not like, go check out those cruise line stocks, see how they're doing, airline stocks, things like that. And a lot of what you see reported is exactly, I think, what you just alluded to. Any type of business opening is positive news to the stock market because we've basically baked in the horrible news, and so any type of expansion is what makes them excited, basically.
You bet. And I think there's some people that don't want to miss the bus. You always sort of see this. People are coming on a little bit late, and with the Fed printing all this money, maybe there'll be inflation, and stocks will be a good hedge there. There's some people that kind of think that way. But hey, if we go into a Great Depression, that's not going to be good for the stock market.
We get this question a lot. This is an email from Gerald.
Hi, Gerald.
Says, hey, Rob and Mark, I know this has come up many times. What is your opinion right now about buying a house over the next many months? We get this a bunch.
Yeah, interest rates are low. I think it's regional in nature. Some regions will get hit hard on this, and others, like we live here in Placer County, and there's still my daughter's the president of the Placer County Association of Realtors. She does high-end to medium homes, and there's a market for that. People are buying and selling. I'm trying to get some real estate right now. So if you're a buy and hold person or you're flipping, it's not the worst time in the world because with all that printing of money, I think there's a bet that we can make that that really houses are going to go up in value over time, even though they may come down a little bit second half. We don't know, but I think long-term things that are hard assets like houses or potentially gold, those kind of things that are limited quantities, they're going to do okay, especially the shortage of people that can swing a hammer still exists right now. One of our companies is a concrete company. We do construction, and we're busy.
And my general answer right now is it's a good time to buy anything if you're in the position because of what you said, interest rates. If there's a reason to buy, this is a great time because you're getting the money for as cheaply as you can get it. So even somebody who's looking to upgrade their home or buy their first home, if they were already in a position to, people seem like, well, is it a good time to buy? My general answer is yes. Right. I can't see a bad reason. Can you?
No, I think you need to have somewhat of a thick skin because if things go down a little bit, you got to be able to keep making your payment and so on. So you got to be okay with it going down in the second half. But I think there's a very good chance that we're not going to see that. It might flatten out a little bit, but long term, it's probably going to be a great investment.
Here's an interesting one. This is an email from Brett.
Hi, Brett.
It's a business would you rather question. It says, Rob and Mark, wife and I own some land. We could put a small mini storage facility on or a wedding venue.
Whoa.
The wedding venue would be my wife's dream job.
Oh.
and would bring in more money. In the post-COVID social distancing world, what would you rather invest in?
Interesting. There's a shortage of great wedding venues in the region. I actually am considering something like that myself.
Yeah, so do a storage unit.
I think you're definitely. I think the storage unit would probably be the safer bet, and it would cash flow and so on. Yeah, I think anything that's tied to events these days is at risk. I think it'll come back in the long term, but I think it's got some amount of risk into it, and it's going to be more work.
Now, that's the business answer. What about the husband side answer? It is his wife's dream scenario. Might be worth considering that side of it.
Do the wedding thing. I would.
All right.
And what you can charge for weddings.
Yeah.
Way different than if it was someone's birthday party. Oh, birthday party or surprise. Oh, wait, it's a wedding? It's triple now.
And here's the other thing. And Mark makes a great point. I mean, those storage units are cash cows for the most part. And it's built-in money. But you have land. And while the event industry is uncertain right now, that means you can design what any type of wedding venue you want, like in the COVID world. Yes. So there is a case to be made for both of them.
I think so. I think that outdoor venues, places that have a little bit more space, will be more popular for the next several years than the places where you're confined in a church and these kind of things. We're going to want to be places where we can be a little bit more distant.
Do you, by the way, societally, we've talked about this on the show a lot, do you see a resurgence of the concern / paranoia, wherever you fall on it, when flu season hits? Because we've been conditioned, right? And we're all focused on coronavirus. We know the flu's coming back. Whatever happens with the vaccine or anything like that, the flu is only, 4 months away.
Jeez.
Do you see that affecting us sociologically?
I think so. I think we're all changed at some level. People are going to want to not shake hands for the next couple of years, maybe indefinitely. The hugs. Dawn, what are you going to do? It's like we are going to do a little bit less of that. I think I think we've changed.
All right, so I wanted to challenge your positivity I saw this article yesterday. I said, oh, well, let's see what Mark has to say about that. Research from something called the Society for Human Resource Management found that more than half of America's small businesses could be wiped out because of the devastation caused by coronavirus. That's 14 million businesses that could shut down for good. This is based on a survey, which a massive 52% of small companies in the survey said they expect to be out of business within just 6 months based on what they're seeing right now. It also revealed that barely a third of small businesses said they expected to be able to continue operating after 6 months. That's an extraordinary amount of pessimism in the small business world, however that extrapolates out from the couple thousand business owners they talked about. Are we heading towards a time of, because you talk about these companies with the big balance sheets, where the big warehouse stores, the big chains, we're going to see a lot of shuttered strip malls and such?
You bet. God. I think we're going to see that. I think, regionally, you're going to see different things. So I think our proximity to the Bay Area is not a bad thing because there's so much capital there looking to move. People want to get out of the Bay. So I do think that Sacramento will be hit, for sure is being hit. But I think in some ways there's a lot of investment ready to go into Sacramento. So it's going to come back slower, but we won't get hit as hard as somebody who's out in an island somewhere.
If those numbers are anywhere close, though, that is another phase of employment devastation. If over the next 6 months, if even half of the half is right, to lose 25% of all small businesses, which provides for, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that about 55% of the workforce?
You bet.
That's a whole new wave of layoffs, and we're already at 14.5 or 14.7% unemployment. We'll say something positive.
Yeah, it's gonna get tougher. Even though the stock market's not reflecting this, it's gonna get tougher on small business before it gets better. So it is going to happen. We know that. Biba's decided to close the other day.
Love
right?
Bibas.
They've been there for 30 years or something.
Wow.
And I think some are just gonna make the decision. This is prompting the decision to quit. And it might not just be economic. It's gonna be like, well, it's just not worth it anymore. I was sort of contemplating whether to make a change in that direction. And some are going to go away just that way. It was time.
I've heard about some that have been open for like 50 years or 85 years. These restaurants have been handed out to families, and I've wondered that. Were they already kind of ready to call it quits anyway, and this just kind of made the decision for them?
Biba's in particular, with Biba dying a year ago, I think the emotional strain. But you bring up a great point. These long-standing names and businesses, it might be like, yeah, let's cash out.
Yeah, I think the ones that were thinking about quitting anyway, this just might be the time. We did, this prompts us into retirement and so on. You'll see some of that, but I do think that the entrepreneurial spirit in America will still exist. I do think we will have that. And that's really what's made us different. And I don't think that's going to change because we got kicked in the nuts.
I wonder if it's going to create...
I don't think... We're going to get back up.
Yeah.
And we're going to get back in the fight. That's what Americans do. That's what entrepreneurs do. And so some will not get back up. Others will retire. But I think many of us are going to figure out how to protect ourselves and how to attack from a different direction.
See, I love that right there. That was a positivity. It made me just want to go out and open a business.
Yeah. A lot of innovation is happening right now. People are dreaming up.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the Bay Area that might work for Google or Facebook or another tech company or any business, the ideas are hatching all over the place. The earlier caller or the letter, people want to open up a wedding venue. People have creativity. That will not go away.
Yeah, maybe some of these unemployed people that become unemployed from the small businesses will be like, you know what, I want to have more control in my life, and they're going to become, a business owner of some sort.
So between that and what we mentioned of an agreement more small businesses are going to go under, what's the role of government in terms of whether it's through the Small Business Association or more stimulus or those kind of things?
Great question. I'm a free market guy. Usually never. I did file for the PPP, right? So I was on here talking about that last time, and I was sort of appreciated. I had some people that I talked to that might have felt a little bit embarrassed that they're going to the government for getting in the bread line. And business owners are proud. They don't want to do that, but I do think that most of us are sort of appreciate that, and it's weird to say that. I do think that we're going to have to let the free market run its course. I do think that the government is going to need to stand down. We can't just keep doing it forever. I think it it creates the wrong behavior.
And it picks winners and losers, which is always what makes me uncomfortable. If you bail out or help the airline industry and the hotel industry, and you don't help out mom and pop here, there, and everywhere else, it's like, wait, and that's where I get a little skeevy on it, because there is an end to it, which people don't understand. Just because you have a printing press doesn't mean you can print money endlessly.
Right.
What about this is a business that you and I are actually we're all involved with, Circles, the social media app through our Tech to You friends, which I call the Yelp killer. With positivity app of, hey, here's the places I go. I follow Mark, and I go on Mark's profile, and when restaurants are reopened, I want to go somewhere. So I look at, if Mark thinks this is good, I'm going to try that. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of people write in about Circles, and yes, it's still moving, but man, they've had to make a lot of changes now. And when this all started, I thought, what does this do to Circles? Because the whole idea, right, was get out and go do stuff and go to places and find services. How does an app like that? What do you envision now for the future? Because you're an investor. Mm-hmm. Full disclosure, we're both investors. What do you envision for what we do with Circles?
I think digital platforms generally are not being hurt as much and this is a digital platform. And I think in general, people are looking to their phone and we're all moving more toward digital. So in some ways, they've got good. They're in a good business compared to others. In other areas, so I'm an investor into a number of companies that, and what a lot of these tech companies do is they go out and raise some money, and then they project out future raises and so on. And I think venture capital money at some level is going to be looking for more traction. Companies that are, profitable or have great user growth and revenue. And so I think one of the struggles that I think any of these really early stage companies that is raising money through venture capitalists, they need to create a longer runway for themselves, because they're typically burning cash at the beginning. That's sort of the business model, is you don't make money for a while. You just build the. Whoops, sorry about that. I'm waving my arms. I have that habit of doing that. Knocked over my water. So awkward.
Live radio, it happens.
Exactly.
Thank you, Brandon.
Brandon's been demoted to janitor. What is happening here?
I could see, I could see consolidation in some of these kind of smaller businesses where really you need to figure out a way to survive, and you need to build your balance sheet, which is raising more money if possible, or maybe even merging it somewhere. So for Circles, I think they're in an interesting space, but I feel like their timing, in some ways, in terms of where they're at their stage, it's being such an early company is probably going to have a little bit tougher time with this.
And that's where the innovation comes in. If you don't consolidate, then you have to innovate. So you mentioned sports earlier. You're a big sports fan. And the NFL schedule was released last night. We haven't talked about it yet on today's show, but just, initially you get almost giddy over thinking about football. Because since it's months away, you want to believe that it's going to start on time in early September. And I think even some people maybe go to the place of you want to believe there's going to be fans in the stands. I have no idea where we're at with the other major sports. So let's focus on the NFL. What, as a Niner fan, as an NFL fan, what do you expect? What do you envision we're going to get? Interesting.
I looked at the schedule, and the first 3 dates were TBD. Right? You can see where the weeks are, but they don't really have the dates on the Niner schedule. I envision the stadium having some people in it, smaller audience, but if it's legal, people are going to show up.
So like Levi's Stadium, but they only let 15,000 people in.
I think it'll be something like that. So I have 8 tickets, right? So I was thinking,
really?
I've invited. I was invited you to go once, and I think you had something going. But but we're thinking like we'll just send 3 people down there, so we all sit one. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, but. That you really get into the minutia of it, but when you have season ticket holders, how do you pick which 15 or 20,000 are allowed in? And then if you live together, okay, you can sit together. But if you invite me, do we sit 3 seats away? Hey, Mark, was that a great player?
Oh my gosh!
I'm hoping by then they've relaxed it a little bit, and that what keeps us away is fear, right? So the people are still going to be concerned about crowds, so maybe that shrinks it. But in terms of allowing us to get in, it may be more like Disneyland China, where they're letting in 30% of the audience.
And you think either way we would have, even if it's an empty stadium, you think we'll have the NFL?
Well, I hate to predict, but yes, I would say yes. I think we will figure out a way by then to manage our fears.
What about that concern we were talking about earlier this morning of this idea of, well, okay, they're playing together and then one player tests positive, and now you've contaminated the whole team? I mean, I'm trying to me, it's almost like that's a non-starter. I understand that's the policy, but it's like you can't bring sports back, so it's almost like we're going to have to figure out a way to look the other way or shrug our shoulders or I don't know.
I think they're going to need to create their own policies within the NFL, right? The players' union and so on. They're going to come up with an agreement to how to play through it. And I don't know if I'm sure that's being discussed right now. I don't know what it will be, but my hope is that we'll decide football and the type of people that play football are really at a lower risk, even though there's touching and so on. And we're going to play through it, and that's what we'll all agree to do. So we're going to have to agree to the terms and conditions of being an NFL franchise.
We were alluding earlier to maybe it's because they're young and healthy. They just self-isolate with teammates and other young and healthy people, and they can pass the virus between each other, but they don't get to go see their elderly moms. And depending on how old the coach is, maybe he has to coach from upstairs. This is back to entrepreneurialism. People don't think of the NFL because it's not a small business, but They didn't start out as a $11 billion industry. And Dawn brought up Disney. The NFL, football, there's another marquee thing. That needs to be back in business. More than I think any of them.
The American psyche needs NFL football. I mean, we need it in order to be positive in life. If you don't have stuff like the NFL indefinitely, at some point you just say, hey, we're playing through it. I'm going to predict that it's this year at some level. I might be wrong. But they put out the schedule yesterday like they're going to play through it. And so I'm sort of taking that positive role or mindset on this and hope we do.
Are you able to be remotely equally positive about baseball and basketball, hockey? I mean, hockey and basketball, I don't know how they're going to pull this off because their season for next year is supposed to start in 4 months, and they're not even close to coming back. Baseball would be, a couple months in? Where's your positivity on that?
It'll all happen with each sport. It's just when. I think that's the question. We're going to end up just saying, well, whether it be herd immunity or hey, old people stay home, or if you're unhealthy, you stay home. We're going to get to that point. The question is when.
You do believe the push will eventually be big enough where the fear will be overcome by, we've just got to have something.
Yeah, it needs to end at some point. So
I just feel the mentality of those that play, that are in this, wouldn't even want all the stipulations. Like, why do we even need to know about it? I mean, honestly, just like let them decide in their own leagues, rooms, whatever. We don't need to scare people more, because that's all people are going to see. Oh, now the Niners can't play because half of them have it. I mean, because they're going to be fine.
They're going to agree to play that way.
And they are.
Yeah, they are going to agree. Is it this year? I don't know, but it will happen, and it may mean that you have to have a little bit larger roster size because the coronavirus is sidelining a few more of our players.
It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if America was told these guys are just choosing to play.
Yes.
And then they go out and play, and they all get through it, and maybe a couple of them get sick, and they have to take a week off.
Yeah, let them be.
It wouldn't be the worst. And Mark, thank you so much for doing this again.
Is
there anything you wanted to bring up? Because you let me drive this whole thing.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, what I would say is, in a time like this, where there's a lot of uncertainty and that creates fear and doubt and so on, I think a community, people in your life that make you feel a little bit less afraid, it is so important. So I love what you're doing here at Rad Radio. You've got this following, this community, and I think when we hear Rob still laughing and joking with Dawn and so on, it's like it makes us feel a little bit less afraid because we're not going through it alone. So thank you for what you do.
Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate that. Mark Haney from HaneyBiz.com.